Has been charged with 9 offences, including murder, after a fatal house fire in the southeast. The 2-storey inferno killed a beloved father of 3 and critically injured another man.
Hello folks, if you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. Today's going to be a little bit of a different story, mainly because it includes something that I normally wouldn't really talk about on this channel, but I figure that it would be a good thing to get this out there as to hopefully minimize stuff like this in the future. Now what we're talking about today is a YouTuber who so far allegedly, although the evidence is really against her, sent off a father of 3 to see his maker, unfortunately. Now there's quite a bit of a rabbit hole when it comes to this one, so we're going to go over that as well as some of the footage that we have of the news channel that is covering the story. And I also want to cover the background on how this even happened in the first place, as I haven't really seen very many people talking about this. But after doing quite a bit of digging, I was able to find a few Reddit posts of people who were part of the Discord server where this all took place and have come out with multiple leaked DMs.
Fierce flames and thick smoke. It was a raging house fire that quickly became a crime scene in Clyde North. And now Jessica Cruz Guzman is accused of causing the deadly blaze.
It's a bit of a shock for the system, especially when I'm trying to keep my family nice and safe.
It's understood the 29-year-old was living at the Sunburn Circuit share house. Police allege she murdered 44-year-old Stuart Blair in the early hours of December 18 when she set the property on fire. His distraught daughters have told 9 News, "Our dad was a loving father. Us 3 girls were his life. He loved us all very deeply. He loved to be the comedian in the room and had the best banter with everyone." Miss Cruz Guzman allegedly poured flammable liquid on a second man before setting him on fire. The 46-year-old is still being treated for burns at the Alfred Hospital.
I thought initially it was just, an accident or something like that, but to hear that there was some kind of malice involved is really scary.
A 43-year-old woman, 11-year-old child and a support dog managed to escape the inferno. Miss Cruz Guzman was taken to hospital under police guard and charged yesterday morning. The accused appeared to be in shock while in the courtroom, shaking as she clutched a jumper in her lap. A compression glove was visible on her right hand, covering burn injuries. She will remain behind bars until her next court date in May. Jack Ward, 9 News.
So with heavy hearts, we're going to talk about what has occurred. I wanted to talk about this one, as I mentioned previously, because I want to see if this is something we can just ultimately deter in the future. Because ultimately, I believe things like this should not happen from the internet. We've had many bad instances where people have unfortunately lost their lives because of some sort of drama that could have been completely avoided if things just didn't turn out the way that they have. But the story here goes that Jessica Sanchez Cruz, which is also the main user of CorpseSyndrome on YouTube, which looks to be somewhat of a popular channel. They seem to have made a parody Mario game of sorts, which honestly looks very cool. But there was an entire team behind this development, as well as other developments under the DeviantArt community, that call themselves Team Airy. Now, Team Airy was the amalgamation, if you will, of many different people. They were essentially a team of creators and drawers who would make content for the general audience. But as we're going to see here in just a second, we're going to go into a little bit of this Team Airy and what it is that they stand for and how this all even occurred in the first place. But what we know so far is that there was shared housing of some sorts where everyone lived inside of. I honestly haven't really heard about this thing here in Canada. Of course, we have stuff like roommates and such, but shared housing, I believe I've heard of that in other countries. I'm not sure how that even works in the first place, but I digress. Unfortunately, the drama between everyone just got so bad that CorpseSyndrome, aka Jessica here, decided to douse the man with rubbing alcohol and light him on fire, unfortunately bringing his life to a halt. Now, the part that really hits home for me is that I've had many friends in the past who have lost their parents at a very young age, and the man who was doused and set ablaze in this case was a father of 3, which leaves the 3 girls fatherless. We don't have too much information on everything that has occurred and what is going to happen with the case, as it's still very new. But what we do know is that Jessica, aka CorpseSyndrome, the suspect in this story, did not come out of this unscathed herself. As we saw, the entire house was set ablaze and people were injured. Not only the man who unfortunately lost his life, but also Jessica herself as well as a few others. She was rushed to the hospital for immediate care and was then taken into custody. Now, I found this document here under the Reddit post that I mentioned earlier, and it has a bunch of sources that shows us several different news stories that have covered this. And if we go to the main documents here, we have a screenshot here that shows the Discord server that actually talks about the events that happened 4 days before it was even out into the public. So if we read here, I didn't think this is something I would ever need to write or address in my life, but here we are. With a heavy heart, I regret to inform that CorpseSyndrome, Jessica, is currently in custody. Here's the information I know about the sequence of events that transpired on how the information was told to me/discovered. So it talks about how there was a house fire around 1 a.m. at the residency where this all took place. And by around 6 a.m. police were involved from the looks of it. I'm not sure why it took them very long, but hey. This is the source that we're going off of. I'm not going to talk about this one too much because at the end of the day, we all know that we should always take things with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to Discord screenshots. Now, what I found interesting at the moment of all this is that there were other people that were talking about being members part of their servers where all of the drama was taking place. So here's a couple more screenshots of what has essentially occurred. It looks to me as though the Sans user in this particular photo might have been someone that was a part of the Airy community, which was Jessica Sanchez Cruz's community, also known as CorpseSyndrome, the lady who set the man on fire. As you see here, we have a few exchanges between Sans and Sammy, which was another member part of the community. And you can see here that they're just going on about being really weird, calling him a crybaby and all that fun stuff. And there was just a lot of drama going on in this entire community. This one got me into a little bit of a doozy because this does kind of make sense as to why things occurred the way they have, unfortunately. But part of the document here, they also say that Sammy, the man who was harassed, they were never rude to anyone and expressed his opinions towards everyone. CorpseSyndrome, aka Jessica, different acronym, banned him from the server after he was, quote, rude to everyone since day one, which unfortunately is not true. But this is the interesting part that really got me. It was CorpseSyndrome claims to be mentally ill and at some point recently tried to off herself, causing her separation with her wife. It's unknown if this is really what happened, but Sammy is also mentally ill, only he tries controlling it. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it is a normal thing for people who have diagnosis of this sort to try and either off themselves or off other people, but I'm just here to say that it shouldn't have turned out this way regardless. Here is another interesting doozy on a few other people talking about what happened. Again, take this with a grain of salt. We don't know whether this is true or not, but the messages states that she was only using the alcohol and lighter as a threat. Then one of the housemates apparently came in yelling, in which Jess was triggered, then threw the alcohol and lit the fire. That would be absolutely insane to me whether that is true or not. The fact that you could be of sound mind and you would threaten someone like that, you know, mentally ill or not, that's just not something anyone should ever use as a threat, for crying out loud. Dousing someone with alcohol and then lighting them on fire. But then later on you see here that the user said she also thought it was appropriate to tell me the difference between what it feels like to be burnt by fire versus burnt by oil. So this is pretty much all we know at this time. She's set to be prosecuted and stand in the court of law come May 2026. By then, I hope we get a little more information on everything that's occurred from the investigation, as well as this woman hopefully put behind bars forever. But hey, when that day comes, I'll be covering it as well. Anyways, please, guys, let's just not do stuff like this. I'm begging you, we don't need any more violence, especially violence when it comes to online communities. But with that, I'll leave you guys for today. Bye bye.